Okay, welcome to the Plum Woman's podcast. Today's conversation is one so many women and families need because when it comes to diabetes, the advice people often hear can feel discouraging, disconnected, and far removed from foods and traditions that we grew up with. Most people is like, here, no, you can eat, and then you start wondering, what in the world will I live on? But on the podcast, we have been taking care of that woman and her family for this episode. So that is the plan for this episode today. Today, we're joined by an endocrinologist. I think I said it right. And a dietitian who co-authored a diabetes education handbook inspired by West African cuisine. Together, they're helping people see what diabetes education can be: practical, cultural relevant, and deeply empowering.
Welcome to the Plum Women Podcast. We're talking about something we all face but rarely name: tough conversations. Whether it's with aging parents, our careers, or even ourselves, these moments can feel heavy, scary, or just damn near impossible. But here's the truth: you are not alone. Over this season, we'll share stories, expert advice, and practical steps that help you move from hesitation to action. We'll talk about real life experiences from women in the diaspora navigating the pressures of family, faith, identity, and midlife transition. Welcome to the lounge. Sisters, let's talk. Welcome to the Sisters Let's Talk.
Welcome to the podcast lounge for episode 2 of our diabetes and our African cuisine special edition. Miss the first episode? Just click on the link below to watch. Now let's continue the conversation.
If you want to talk to the person that we meet on the street that probably never opened a school book or something like that, right? Or have, like, we hear about diabetes all the time and all these medications that are available for it. How would you explain diabetes to that person so that they understand what it is? Basically, I know it as you should reduce your sugar and not eat rice. Basically, I'm sure that's what the definition of diabetes is.
I think, Mavin, let me answer, then
What
you
is diabetes?
respond.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me answer, then you respond. So again, in part of it in there, we understand not everyone is going to be able to pick up and say, oh, let me pick up and read the book, right? Or understand it. But we also in there, if you go through it, you see that we also have some of our language. So we had Creole in it, so that it helps to some people will be able to relate to it. So when we did descriptions, we also put in some of our local language in there, one of them, because we have many, and talked about this. But the other part of it is, this is like just the beginning of it. It's almost like a train the trainer kind of guide as well. So it has many uses for that individual who wants to know more and can pick it up and follow it, as well as for that community health worker who has access to someone who may not be able to read it and understand. But that community health worker, it's broken down enough that they can now take it, review it, and now explain it to someone else. So I'll stop there so Marvin can add to it.
Okay, so I'm going to try and break this down into sort of very simple language, and let's see how far we go with it. So the first thing I want to say is there are different types of diabetes, and if you want to know more, then get the book. But with
Yep.
specific
It's a
reference.
lot in there. I'm like, I have to ask about one because I have never heard about that one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but with specific reference to type 2 diabetes, so I'll just try and attempt to break that down. And diabetes is no longer considered as a sugar problem. Okay, so you don't just tell the patients don't eat sugar and then go away. No. Okay, so I want everyone to come on this journey with me. Okay, so we are all born with genes. We call them genes. It's just what gives us identity. Okay, and these genes can predispose us to risk. Okay, so let's go back to pre-civilization ages when we used to live in small villages. There was not a lot of food to go around. We did not eat every day. Okay, we hunted, and you only ate when it was necessary to eat, basically. So food was scarce. You had to work a lot more to get a small quantity of food. Okay, so we evolved to be able to handle less food. And then we were all thin, we were all healthy, we were all very muscular and very efficient. Fast forward hundreds of years, we now have food readily available. We now work very little to produce food or to do anything. I mean, the other day I was in Sierra Leone and somebody wanted to walk from the top of Bathurst Street by Pademba Road to the Shaka Stevens Street end. And he told me it was too far, so he was waiting for his driver to come and pick him.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
And I looked at him and I like, okay, right, okay, you don't say much, it's just our people. But basically the point that I'm making, our ancestors had to hunt, they had to walk miles to the well, they had to work harder for water, small quantity of food. And now we cannot even walk from Bathurst Street from the top end to the bottom end. Yeah, it's too much. Then you have ready-made food, very poor quality. So meaning we're spending less energy and we are consuming more energy. Okay, so what does the body do? So the body, which was for centuries was built for less food and more work, is now faced with less work, more food. So what do you think the body is going to do? The body has got to deal with the
Okay.
food. Okay, so the body deals with it by, okay, it will provide you with the energy you need to do what you need to do, and then it will store it in what I call your metabolic organs, that's fat. And this is when your problem begins. So it's fat in the liver, and the liver is full of fat. Yep. Are you still on me? Are you still with me?
We're still with you,
I have
but
question.
we
No, go
have
ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
still with you.
we're
So,
still,
why are some people skinny and they eat like 5 times more than I do? And I have never been considered skinny ever. But anyway,
so I'm
that's me.
convinced
Like,
I'm
so,
convinced I'm convinced that because of genetics, even though there were people who hunted and gathered and farmed uh, half the day, but because of genes, not everyone was skinny and muscular. I'm convinced.
I think Lucia is right. And remember when I started the
okay,
story, I
doctor,
started the
please go
story
on.
with the
Sorry,
genes.
but
Yeah.
I,
I, I started the story with the genes, okay? Because the genes, these are what we'll call codes as to what makes you who you are. These are codes, okay? So this will code, okay, Mavin will wear glasses for the rest of his life. These are codes. Lucia will wear glasses. You've got the genetic risk. So remember, it's a genetic risk. These are codes that determine your risk, and I covered that at the beginning. Anyway, so moving forward, and it's where you store your fat. Okay, so equally so, you can still have obese people with no diabetes. Okay, so if you store your fats in the metabolic organs, you store it in the liver. The liver is doing its own thing. It's pouring out glucose, like, it's not listening to what the commands it's getting to suppress. The muscles don't work anymore to act as like a shock absorber, to like an absorbing sponge to sponge out all that excess glucose. And this fat, spills onto the liver. It spills onto the pancreas from the liver, and the pancreas is a very delicate organ. It does not like fat. You give it a little bit of fat, it goes lazy and it goes to sleep. Okay? And it's only when the pancreas is full of fat and goes to sleep, your blood sugar rises, and then you're diagnosed with diabetes. So, in short, your problem starts years before the diagnosis of diabetes is made. So, I hope I'll stop here. So, let's say this is PZ. We'll stop at
So
PZ.
how do we choose where the fat goes?
By what you
How
eat.
do we choose where the fat stores? Is that DNA again, or
So
is that the genes problem?
So the conversion of glucose to fat is predefined. It's a step by step thing. But we can control how much fat is stored if we eat the right things, we eat them in the right fashion, we eat the right quantity, and get less going down the toxic fat pathway. Does that make sense?
That looks like a lot of math right there for eating.
Control what you eat. Just control what you eat.
So
that's how to control that.
So with that said, right? Okay, I'm looking at, from what you said, I'm looking at the book right now, right? I have this practical guide that tell me how I should plan for the food, I don't know if it says when I should eat it, but how I should plan for the food, the quantity, and stuff like that. So give me, for example, breakfast. I don't even know if breakfast is like a thing, but anyway, I'm thinking Africans typical. Yeah, breakfast, bread. That is what I knew. Bread is our breakfast. We go to the koto, get our bread, we put whatever is in there. That is what we eat for breakfast. So now you're telling me I need to look at this math and say, bread, when should I eat it? How much should I eat? What do I do after the bread? Give me that scenario. What am I doing in that instance? Breakfast, what needs to be done with what you just said on all the different things I should consider for fat not to store in my body, or for it to do what it's supposed to do.
Lucia, do you want to go first?
Asking that question.
I think, Lucia, that's very much in your area.
No, I think she wants you to answer.
Come on, Lucia, you don't.
No, any one of you. You can. If everybody can choose their own part.
Yeah, I think Lucia, you go, and then I will
add.
Put the icing on the cake.
The long and short of it is everyone's body's different. Your body will digest things differently. Your body will respond differently to the same food that 10 people will eat at the same time. So part of it in the guide is, it's a guide. You have to use it as a guide. So I can't in this instance say, oh, for me, now breakfast at 8 o'clock, you should eat this type of bread at 8 o'clock. And then this is going to change your sugar to this number. Then after that, because of that, you have to now exercise for 20 minutes and apply and say this now applies to everyone that will either read the guide or even when they go to their healthcare provider. at the end of the day, it's individualistic, which comes back to the homework that you had. Remember?
If I should take this
Which is
forward.
to write thing I ate for the day so she can tell me which what before I should eat. Stop how much I should
So it
eat.
will
That
take a
was hard.
pattern though.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, we don't isolate. You have to identify the pattern, in conjunction with, given the fact that we're talking about diabetes, in conjunction with what foods affect your blood sugar. And once you have identified a pattern, then now you can take that and open the book and use that as a guide to adjust. So in that sense, that's how it can help, on an individual basis.
If I should just attempt to supplement
Okay.
Lucia's explanation from the scientific point of view. So you have to think of food as currency. Okay? Right. If someone was to give you
Okay.
100 leons, $100, £100, it's still 100. But the weight of that
Okay.
currency differs. Yes? So it's the same
Mhm.
thing with your bread. Okay?
Yep.
So the bread is just sugar. When you digest it, it's just sugar, right? So without saying all the technical terms here, it has the ability to send your blood sugar high very quick. Okay? Because it's just sugar. You're just eating
Okay.
sugar. All right? Now, um, if you were younger, you will tell the cutter to put margarine. You remember?
I
So
like
we used to put
so
margarine.
this is not this is not news, good news, but keep going. We
Yeah.
keep
So
going.
that margarine will have an effect on the absorption of the bread than if you eat the bread
Okay.
without anything. Okay? Now you were younger. You
So which
probably
is good?
walked
With margarine or without margarine?
by the book. It's all in the book. Okay?
Okay.
It's all in the book because the book
It's all in the
explains
book.
it better.
Got it.
Yeah. But the second thing again, now you had your bread from the cutter or from the side shop with margarine, but you most likely walked to school. You
Yeah.
most likely walked in the walked to and from school because we all did it back home. You're more likely to play Accra. The girls played Accra. The stepping game, and the boys will fool around with
That's right.
football or would turn everything into a ball. That's energy. That activity you're doing will have an effect on your blood sugars.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 20, 30 years. You still love your bread, yes. Do you still walk to work?
Yep.
Probably not. Do you still play Accra?
No.
No. Do I still go and
No.
have a kick around? No. So now you can start to understand how the same food or foods starts affecting your health as you get older. And therefore, you need to have the understanding of, okay, how can I still eat my bread? How can I still eat my tapalapa and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it with very little effect on my health? And that's a responsibility every adult should be able to take. But you can't make the changes if you don't understand. You can't make the changes if you can't see what you
Okay.
need to change. And that's why Lucia was saying you can't give a generic advice. You have to tailor the advice for everyone.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is two things. For me to use the guide, I actually need to know certain things about my body and in relation to food. And two, for food to be as effective as it should be, it needs to go right alongside with exercise and activity. Yes or no?
You're bang on the money.
Okay. With that said, I feel like everybody should get the book then, so we know what to eat. So where do we get it?
So everyone can be able to purchase it on Amazon. It's available as a paperback. For those who love to walk around with, well, I guess who have transitioned to electronics, they can use Kindle. So it's available on Amazon Kindle. And because we didn't want to just address or have it available to just Africans in the diaspora, if you are in, even if you're here, you can still access it. You could go to Seller, so it's available on Seller. And the thing about the Seller is, if you, whichever country, they have made it available in a number of countries, obviously not the entire Africa, but if you go to purchase, you can then change it to your local currency. And that includes doing mobile cash or purchasing it through your account. So, as you know, there are different ways of purchasing when you go back to West Africa / Africa. So they have access to it as well. It will be a PDF that they can download on their phone and be able to read it. And just so we don't forget to put it out there, in as much as two Sierra Leoneans, when we came together to do the book, a lot of the foods, we have Sierra Leonean dishes, but we are aware we all enjoy other West African dishes, and some of them interchange, they are intertwined. So if you talk about cassava leaves, it's not just synonymous to Sierra Leone, right? If you talk about fufu, there are different types of fufu, it's not just synonymous. So what we did was to take the common things in the culture of foods, especially to West Africa, and then we use those as a guide. So a non-Sierra Leonean can also pick up the book and utilize it.
Can I?
And I'm just going through and go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying one thing I really liked. I do have the Kindle version. One thing I really liked about the resource that you put out that I want to add is we don't only get the research, which I had asked about, which is super helpful. I liked it. Um, it is really helpful, like Dr. MacAuley said. It's we want people to know that this was not just a hypothetical thing. There is research to back what is being written. And two, I like the photos, like the pictures where are awesomely good. I can actually see the serving of jollof rice and chicken that I should be eating. That is a healthy serving. I see the serving, the picture. For us that like pictures, you know that some of us go to restaurants and we will not order if there are no pictures to show for what we're going to eat. We will not order that dish. Just putting out there for a few people. So I can see the serving of egusi soup and amala that I'm supposed to eat that is healthy. And so I like that it was designed that way. And I also like that we have resources at the end of the book that we can use to track a weight and blood pressure chart, a blank food diary that I'm supposed to fill out, a sample blood sugar log. So I like that it is all included in one guide that is in there. So that was really, really, really thoughtful. And So it is not like it's a thing that tells us do this and do that, but it's a guide that you guys actually put together to help somebody make decisions on their own and to advocate for themselves. So with that said, um and as we round up in doing all of this, what is the hope that you have for somebody when they pick up this guide? If they don't do anything at all, what is the one thing you hope they can get from it? Because it's
Okay,
loaded.
sure. If I, it's loaded, but it's still a small book. If I should go first. So firstly, let
No, what I
me,
mean, it's simple but loaded for what it is. Yeah.
sure. Let me, to answer your question is, I'm going to sort of ask a question to answer your question. But first,
Hmm.
let me use this opportunity to thank Lucia for coming on board on this one, and to thank her husband because she has spent a lot of time and she's spending a lot of time doing this. She's a fantastic manager. She's a fantastic dietitian and an awesome physician assistant. Lucia, just to let you know, I think if I should speak on behalf of Sierra Leoneans, we would not be able to put this resource together without you. Thank you, Fumi, for hosting us. It's been an absolute privilege. Now, to answer your question, the question that I want to ask is the typical Sierra Leonean will go, ani napan sale woke pani no go woke pa me. So so Lucia is going to try to put
Yeah.
something up, and I'm going to talk you through this. So these are the first few patients we tried on. So blue is your fasting blood sugar, and red is
Okay.
your postprandial blood sugar. So you can see when we started working with people, their blood sugars were going up to 20 millimoles per mole, yes, after meals. And even their fasting was as high as 12, 12.5. Okay? Just working with them, you find out that by halfway through the journey, their 2 hours after meals and fasting were almost equivalent. And in, say, 5 to 6 weeks, there was not much difference between the fasting blood sugar, which is in blue, and the postprandial, meaning the blood sugars 2 hours after. So, what does this mean? It actually means that, so this was somebody who was not doing any physical activity. These people were not doing any physical activity. So what does it mean? That if you actually were able to understand what you eat, you're able to apply it successfully, you will be able to eliminate these spikes in blood sugar, which is disastrous to your health. So for the unbelieving Thomas, or for those who think, oh, this is not going to work for me, I think, yes, this is not scientific, but it's as good as we can get to show you um, that by making these changes, you can actually sort of make lifestyle changes. Over to you, Lucia.
I think at the end of the day, uh, the reason why we did it is to help our people, and so this is something that someone can relate to. From our Whether you're in the diaspora or not, it is something that you can relate to. Someone can explain it to you, or you could pick it up yourself and read it. A few, just since it came out, a few people actually have picked it up. And when we were writing this, we reached out to different types of people. So we reached out to people who like academic stuff. We reached out to people who just want to see pictures. We reached out to people who they have no idea about their diabetes. They're newly diagnosed. Some were caregivers, and so on and so forth. So this is really not just for someone who has diabetes, but it could be a friend, it could be someone who's taking care of someone with diabetes. And the other part, which we are very aware of, is that even ourselves, when you go to school, you have all these books. You need someone to break it down. You can't just pick up the book and then you get it, and so what we've planned in the very near future is to break these things down to the individual themselves. So giving people opportunity to be in a group, in a very small group, where they can ask individual personal questions, and where we can break it down to that place where it really, they can understand it and relate it to their own everyday life. This is a general guide. So that's the plan, is to get there to the people who can then sit there and say, well, this is what's happening. I looked at it, I tried, or maybe I haven't looked at it, but I would like to understand or know more.
I mean, to add to what Lucia has said, again, sorry for me. Let me just take this
Mhm.
opportunity to thank the diabetes, the diabetes service in Connaught. These guys are working miracles. Very good doctors. Some of them I went to College of Medicine with. Some of them probably maybe taught me in medical school, but I can't remember. These guys are doing a fantastic job with the resources they have. Having said that, though, it is also important to note that with some of these educational programs, which we might be coming up, is to empower people with diabetes so they know what questions to ask their GPs when they go to
Mhm.
the GPs. So it's not just about blood sugar. You need to be asking: Is my cholesterol well controlled for my risk? Is my blood pressure okay? Um, are my kidneys leaking protein? So all of these things we hope to sort of cover in depth with these educational programs. So, and because your visit to the doctors in okay here in Dubai, for new patients is 30 minutes, for follow-up is 20 minutes. In some clinics is half that time. So you want, if you've got 15 minutes, you want to make it very, very useful in terms of knowing what questions to ask. And a lot of the time as well, but that doesn't give you enough time to explain to the patients what's going on. And but by hopefully attending some of this, you this is it's kind of, it empowers you to take control of your own health. It's your health. You have to take control of it.
Yeah.
And and this tool, and hopefully the programs that we will in fact, right now, Lucy, am I right, we're working on the kind of syllabus, isn't it?
Mhm.
Without saying too much at this time, but you will definitely hear from us, is empowering the patients. So when they go to the doctors, they can have a conversation that's meaningful to them. And as such, they will be able to engage with their services and get better control of their chronic conditions.
I think patient
So,
zero, sorry for me, if we could call
no.
her patient zero, is a perfect example of what
Oh,
it can do. Is she would not have been the patient or the client that would have picked up this book because she couldn't read or write. However, she had access to two individuals who were passionate about it and wanted to help. And when we broke it down with visuals, she was able to make, because she had
yeah.
no understanding of what was going on. She was just taking medications and that's it. But just from simple conversations with her, the two of us, we were able to break it down. Like I said earlier in the beginning, that she was able to then get an understanding to say, oh,
Hmm.
so when I eat this or when I eat that, oh, I can make this adjustment. And
Hmm.
she started getting her, I think it was her daughter or her granddaughter, that was then writing, keeping track and writing her numbers. And then we would explain it to her. And she was like, she was so proud that she was getting these changes. and that her sugars were improving. So, in as much as, like I had said earlier in the beginning, yes, some people might not be able to pick it up, read it, right, or understand it, but there will be someone who is able to, who can pick it up, review it, and then help that individual.
Yeah, actually,
So I want
by
to ask
the
a quick.
just one last thing, just to sort of elaborate. In fact, we were shocked by sort of the third or fourth week that, oh, what has happened? Everything seems to have improved significantly. And when we spoke to her, she was now empowered to make changes about her life. She was now empowered to use her own foods and make, she would tell us, and, I have swapped this for this because this doesn't increase my blood sugar. I now eat this because I know it doesn't have an effect on my blood sugar. And as such, it was the family learning as well. Yeah. So what we hope to do is to empower everyone or people around them to make these positive changes and live healthier lives. Remember, it's your life, it's your responsibility. Sorry.
I love that. I'm always in that state of that philosophy that teach somebody to fish, and then they get to actually fish when you're not there instead of just giving them the fish. So this is a very great tool and a very great perspective that you guys have, and I look forward to hearing more and raising that awareness with you guys. So I am utterly proud of you too, and thank you so much for giving back to your community.
Following requests to help relatives residing in Sierra Leone with their diabetes control, Lucia and I teamed up to help them manage their diabetes. Identifying the gaps in knowledge of our own traditional foods, values, and culture resonated with experiences of Sierra Leoneans and West Africans in the diaspora. The challenges with services not designed or perhaps not fully considering our heritage contributes to poor diabetes control and disengagement. Out of this experience, the West African cuisine-inspired diabetes guide was born.
We came together to build something our countrymen could relate with. Oftentimes, I see patients who were inaccurately counseled in the past to avoid most of our traditional foods. The book challenges the myth that African cuisine is unhealthy and shows how our ancestral diets rooted in whole foods, leafy greens, and fiber-rich staples align with modern diabetes care. Whether you are newly diagnosed, supporting a loved one, or committed to long-term wellness, this guide will provide you with culturally relevant strategies to live well with diabetes. With the right information, our people can make informed choices. And this book will help answer some of your burning questions. So pick up your copy of the West African Cuisine-Inspired Diabetes Guide today on Amazon. If you are in the motherland of Africa, you can purchase for a small fee on Selar. So go to Selar, SELAR.com, and be able to read it on your own phone. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok by scanning the QR code at the end of this video.